Hello everyone. This is the 13th part of the story, Abe the Wizard. Chapter 56, Reward. With the hot sun shining above, the carriage began to make its way through the main road of Harvest City. The path ahead was flat and laid with carved boulders. While such a design looked nice on a regular day, the heat was making it hard to walk on top of them. Thankfully, the Knight of Marshall and Abel didn't have to walk on their own feet. That being said, though, it didn't take long for them to be drenched in their own sweat. Abel kind of missed his old car back on Earth. It wasn't the best one, but at least it had an air conditioner. It was a slow and agonizing trip. At last, the carriage had made its way to the Lord's estate. "Master Knight, Master Abel," the coachman called out, "we have arrived at the Harvest City Lord's estate." The Knight of Marshall tidied his suit for a bit. He then took out a towel and started wiping the sweat off his head. He passed over another towel to Abel. "Wipe your sweat with this. Remember, today is an important day. Don't do anything rude when you see him." When the Marshall Knights and Abel stepped off the carriage, the huge high wall of the city palace came into Abel's eyes. The last time he came here at night, the city palace seemed more magnificent and aggressive during the day. "I give you my sincerest salute, the Honorable Knight of Marshall, and the Honorable Master Abel. I have come here to welcome you both on behalf of the Lord of this city." Since Abel was the adopted son of the Marshall Knight, in this formal occasion, he was presented by the Knight of the Marshall. The knights bowed slightly and said to the steward, "I'm very glad to see you. Abel and I are honored to be invited to meet the Honorable Lord." Abel bowed slightly following the Marshall Knight, thanking the steward. Under the guidance of the housekeeper, they went through the huge courtyard. Although the fountain in the middle of the courtyard was not as bright as at night, it seems that there was a little bit of coolness under the sunlight. After entering the hall, Abel felt the coolness from time to time. The huge rock-walled hall completely blocked the heat outside. Walked through a long corridor to a door carved with the goddess of the harvest. The steward stood still and said quietly to the Marshall Knight and Abel, "This is the reception room. The city lord is waiting for you." When he saw Viscount Dickens again, Abel felt more deeply than when he came last time. The powerful force from Viscount Dickens' body was like a volcano. Although it did not erupt, he felt heavy pressure just standing in front of him. "Did you rank up, Master Abel?" While Viscount Dickens was very aware of how threatening his combat chi was for the other knights, he didn't expect Abel to be shocked. Viscount Dickens's combat is only aimed at the official knights, and those novice knights should not be able to feel this coercion. Abel's reaction has shown that he had become an official knight. "Yes, my lord," Abel bowed humbly and replied with a fancy gift in the air with one hand. Viscount Dickens secretly rejoiced that he did not mistreat Abel for his effort. Not to mention in Duchy of Camel, such genius was very rare even in the entire human world. He was being friendly with Abel because Abel was a master blacksmith, and now he found that Abel was not only talented in forging, but also talented in knight practice. Viscount Dickens pointed towards a knight on the side. "This is the Knight of Soroyan. He's the one who led the orc extermination." Knight of Soroyan bowed to Marshall Knight and Abel. He always wanted to thank them in person for allowing him to contribute. This ceremony was heartfelt gratitude expressed by the Knight of Soroyan. Regarding the goodwill of the elite knights, both Marshall Knight and Abel also responded quickly, and the atmosphere on both sides seemed very friendly. He's had a nice record to him. 159 official orc riders, with 2 of them as elite riders, and wounded a sky sparrow," said Viscount Dickens with a smile. It turned out that the sky sparrow was wounded by the army. At this time Abel knew the origin of Bai Yun's injury, but fortunately, it did not expose Bai Yun. Viscount Dickens turned to look at Abel and said, "Master Abel, the 2 corpses you sent yesterday were identified by the Knights of Soroyan. One of them escaped from the siege, had noble status, protected by elite orc rider. I also sent this meritorious service to the Baikong headquarters overnight, and the headquarter had raised your reward. Large cities such as Harvest City had their own ways to transmit information in the Blacksmiths Guild. Reports of battle achievements were given due rewards after verification, and for achievements reported by city lords such as Viscount Dickens, the response would be very fast. Hearing the increase in the reward, Abel couldn't help rejoicing. Fortunately, he didn't bother to throw away the 2 corpses. Sure enough, the 2 corpses played a role. Knight of Marshall, due to your heroic actions, Matthew Castle was rescued, and you killed several orc riders in the process of guarding Harry Castle. The Duchy of Carmel Principality awarded you the title of Lord. Viscount Dickens announced solemnly. For the Duchy, the Knight of Marshall kneeled with a solemn look on his face. As for the Knight of Soroyan, because of your leadership in killing 159 orc riders in the battle against the orcs, you will have your own coat of arm and 100 miles of land in the Duchy of Carmel. Viscount Dickens subsequently announced. The Knight of Soroyan was half kneeling with tears in his face. Being a lord of his land was very different from simply being a nobleman. From this point onward, the Knight of Soroyan formally stepped into the realm of the nobles and became a true noble. Lastly, Viscount Dickens threw a smile towards Abel. Master Abel, you have provided accurate information for the orc siege, rescued Matthew Castle, and killed the orc riders several times. In view of your outstanding achievements, the Duchy of Carmel gave you the original Matthew Castle territory and grants you lordship. Abel couldn't believe what he heard. The reward was simply too much to be true, but looking at the smile of Viscount Dickens, he understood that it was Viscount Dickens who had made great efforts in it, and it was possible that neither the army department or the king wanted to offend a master. For the Duchy, Abel copied the Knight of Marshall whilst half kneeling on one of his legs. The Knight of Soroyan looked at Abel enviously. The reward given to Master Abel was awarded according to the highest standards. Usually, only members of the royal family would be able to receive such high standards reward. It was rarely given to non-royal members. Viscount Dickens smiled as he helped Abel to stand up. So, is it Master Abel or Lord Abel? He inquired and started laughing out loud. To be fair, that was a good question. Indeed, for a master blacksmith like Abel, the master blacksmith status is far higher than that of a lord in the whole continent. But Abel was too young now and has not yet traveled to the mainland. His master's reputation is only a medal of the Blacksmith Guild. Only when a lot of Abel's works appeared on the mainland would this reputation really settle down and become Abel's real fame. Abel replied with a smile, "Just call me Abel. I'm not sure about being called a master or a lord. To me, they are just nicknames." What a humble man you are, Master Abel. Indeed, with the pursuit of glory and fame in the way, no one could have made the same kind of achievements as what you've done. As Viscount Dickens applauded Abel for his integrity, the Knight of Soroyan, too, nodded his head to show his approval of the young master. Viscount Dickens continued, "It is the day of the Holy Birth 2 months from now on. Remember, all 3 of you will have to be in Beikong City for your anointment ceremony. Make sure you'll be there on time." In general, in the case of receiving the title of Lord and Fiefdom, after the reward, the title of Lord and the Fiefdom were already rewarded, but to truly gain official recognition, you must go to the capital city of Beikong, accept the honor of the king, express your gratitude to the king, and assert your loyalty to the duchy. When leaving, Knight of Soroyan grabbed the Knight Marshal and Abel. Now it's the Knight of Marshal. Be sure to find a place to celebrate with both of them. The Knight of Marshal couldn't find a way to reject, so he agreed. Of course, the Knight of Marshal also wanted to associate with the Soroyan Knights, but Abel declined politely. Chapter 57, Supplementary Potions. Abel called for a carriage as he said goodbye to Viscount Dickens. "Please send me to Edmund's boutique shop." The coachman didn't know who Abel was, but he was very respectful to him. He just saw the young nobleman came out of the city's palace, and he knew that people who could go in and out there were all distinguished people. So, he carefully took out the footstool and let Abel step on the carriage. Although Abel could go up with a single jump, he accepted the good intention of the Lord and step on the footstool. He wasn't sure when, but it appeared that he was now used to his status as an upperclassman. The carriage was running very smoothly. After getting out of the car, Abel threw out 2 silver coins and hinted that the extras were tips to thank the Lord for their service. Ever since Abel revealed the family coat of arms at the Edmonds boutique shop, everyone at the Edmonds boutique shop has remembered this young nobleman/master blacksmith, so when he just stepped off the carriage, he had been entertained by the waiters that stepped forward to guide him to the VIP area and be treated with some good coffee. "Dear Master and Lord Abel, welcome to the Edmonds boutique shop." Yvette bowed to Abel with a smile on her face. "You people are very fast, aren't you? You knew I was coming before even I did." Abel laughed after getting up. "You are a distinguished guest to Edmonds boutique shop, and our head branch has taken a special interest in you," Yvette said, then informed the waiter on the side. The waiter walked to Abel's side with a silver tray. On the silver tray was a money bag. Yvette pointed at the money bag and said, "Last time you commissioned us to auction weapons for a total of 22,000 gold coins. The headquarters waived the fees for you. Your weapons were a big hit in Baikong City. We have sold them at a record price that's never seen before in these past few years." After receiving the money bag from the waiter, Abel found that the money bag was a bit small and light, and it was unlikely to hold more than 20,000 gold coins. Although he knew that Edmonds boutique shop could not go wrong with this, Abel's curiosity made him open the purse. Inside was a dark gold card with a pattern composed of numerous gold patterns, with 22,000 digits in the middle, and no other signs. He looked up and looked at Yvette questioningly. "What is this card?" Yvette explained, "This is a magic gold card, which can only be owned by those who have a distinguished status and have passed the review of the Continental Chamber of Commerce. You could use it to purchase or withdraw gold coins in all large stores across the continent. Please, leave a drop of your blood in it. This card can only be used by none but yourself." Wasn't this just a bank card? Not only that, it was a card that could be unlocked with Abel's blood. As his status increased, the quality of the service he was getting was now better and more innovative. It wasn't like there wasn't such a thing as magic, but magic services were not available to a noble knight like he used to be. After receiving the needle that Yvette handed over, Abel used some strength to break through the skin of his finger and drip blood on the magic gold card. The magic gold cards flashed a dark golden light, and successfully recognized Abel as the Lord. Abel put away the magic gold card and slightly bowed to Yvette. "Ms. Yvette, thank you very much for everything that Edmund auctioned me. I believe our friendship will continue." Yvette's smile grew wider as Abel reassured his friendship with her. For many years, Edmund's auction house has worked hard to communicate with many blacksmiths across the continent. At least in the human world, magic weapons could only be forged by Abel, and they wouldn't have the chance to have access to magic weapon that was forged by Master Dwarf because though they were considered quite powerful in Duchy of Carmel, but in the entire human world, they were only considered as second and third class auction houses. "Ms. Yvette, does your auction house provide supplements for official knights?" Abel thought of his own situation and had to take the wizard test in 2 years. Now, the most important thing was to improve his ability as much as he could. With that in mind, potions were now his hope to step into the next level. There were 3 kinds of auxiliary training medicines that could be used by official knights: the blood-fusing potions, the replenishing potion, and essence-condensing potions. Yvette introduced and took out a piece of parchment paper and said to Abel, "These are 3 kinds of instructions for the medicament. Which one do you need?" Abel took the parchment with the description and efficacy of the 3 potions. The blood-fusing potion was a potion that was used during an official knight practice. It could convert the blood in the body directly into combat chi that store in the body. This potion was used to exchange blood for the combat chi and accelerate the speed of gathering the combat chi, but each time you used it you lost some blood. The second potion, the replenishing potion, was meant to be used in collaboration with the blood-fusing potion. After using the replenishing potion, it would restore the blood lost from using the blood-fusing potion, and there was a limit for the replenishing potion. For each bottle of blood-fusing potion used, it was necessary to take the replenishing potion for 10 consecutive days, and then rest for 5 days before using the blood-fusing potion. In other words, the blood-fusing potion could only be used once every half a month, and the main usage for the replenishing potion was to restore the blood-lost form using the blood-fusing potion. The third potion, Essence Condensing Potion, is used to help to compress the combat chi. Although each knight would compress their combat chi during their training, it would take them a long time for this process. Essence Condensing Potion was a potion that accelerated the compression of the combat chi. After using the potion, it will save 30 days of compression, and the interval between each was 5 days. Abel thought he wasn't sure if the Essence Condensing Potion had any effect on his pale golden combat chi. He wondered if leveling it up to a master level could help him improve his combat chi. Although his combat chi was called God tier combat chi, it was still quite far from being in the God tier. Yvette saw that Abel was very concerned about Essence Condensing Potion. There is a legend about the Essence Condensing Potion. If you drink 1,000,000 bottles of it, you can raise your combat chi to the God tier level. Yvette chuckled for a bit after saying that. Honestly, no one could drink 1,000,000 bottles of the Essence Condensing Potion. First of all, it was simply too much of a waste of money. And even if one could, and was dumb enough to, afford for such an expense, he would probably be dead from the side effects. Just the time it would take to drink 1,000,000 bottles. How many years would that take? I will ask for some of the 3 potions at any price. Abel decided to purchase each of the potions and go back to try the effect. If it was effective, then he would purchase more next time. These 3 potions are lesser. Because of the materials, it is difficult for master pharmacists to make the potion for intermediate. Therefore, on the mainland, official knights are using lesser potions. Yvette explained very clearly that she did not want Abel to misunderstood for any reason. Yvette went on and said, 50 gold coins per bottle for the blood-fusing potions, 10 gold coins per bottle for the replenishing potion, and 100 gold coins per bottle of essence condensing potions. Abel couldn't help but stagger. The potions of these official knights were several times higher than the price of the novice knights. It seemed like reaching the elite knight level through potions was not the affordable way for ordinary noblemen. Give me 27 bottles of blood-fusing potions, 270 bottles of the replenishing potion, and 162 bottles of essence condensate potions. Abel was about to buy a 1-month supply of potions. 27 bottles of blood-fusing potion for 1350 gold coins, 270 bottles of the replenishing potions for 2,700 gold coins, and 162,200 coins for essence condensing potion, with a sum total of 20,250 gold coins. Yvette counted very fast in her mind and stated the value and total price of all 3 potions. Abel didn't expect to spend all his gold coins on the magic gold card by just buying the potion. He took out the magic gold card from his arms and handed it to Yvette. Yvette took out the same magic gold card and docked both cards together. Abel felt a question coming from the magic gold card. Do you agree to pay 20,250 gold coins? Abel said in his heart, I agree. He saw that the amount in his magic gold card changed from 22,000 to 1750. He put away the magic gold card. Abel could not help but be full of longing for magic. This time, Yvette has prepared 2 large boxes for Abel. The boxes were lined with soft red silk to protect these potions. Chapter 58, The Matthew Castle's Secret Passage. On the return journey, the Knight of Marshall and Abel went to Matthew's castle first. For the sake of clarity, the territory around Marshall Castle was already under Abel's possession. As the entire Matthew family was no longer, the area that was 100 miles in between the Bennett Knight's domain and Harry Knight's domain was technically unclaimed. The same could be said for everything that was in Harry Castle. While Abel didn't ask for it, he was granted the authority over these said properties. He could design his new coat of arms now if he wanted to, but he would have to wait for it to be approved after going to the ceremony in Beikong City. As the carriage approached Harry Castle's front gate, butler Ken brought a few guards and servants to welcome them in. They seemed quite eager to do something like this. After all, with their former masters gone, no one knew what their future would be like. The least they could get was the first impression of the man newly in charge of this territory. Yesterday, the city's government sent someone to announce that the Lord Matthew's estate was now the Lord Abel's estate. What that meant was that the castle and all the land that surrounded this place was now Abel's property. Abel could do what he wanted with this place, and that worried a lot of the servants, guards and even the senior staff here. They were genuinely in fear of getting kicked out to elsewhere. The Knight of Marshall said to Abel before he exited the carriage, "You are in charge of this castle, Abel. You should meet with the people who serve you." Abel replied with a smile, "This is the land of the Harry family. There are 2 coats of arms that represent it, but it will still always belong to the Harry family." Regardless of their influence or wealth, the nobles would always have a coat of arms to represent their family name. When a territory was lost, its coat of arms would be denoted from the territory that it has claimed. When a coat of arms was in place, one would have to learn all the history and meanings behind it to be recognized as a proper noble. There were nobles without their land or a coat of arms, of course. That being said, they were certainly considered inferior to those who did. Right now, Abel had the coat of arms of the unicorn, which symbolized his linkage with the Harry family. If his children were to reach adulthood, he would do the same as the Knight of Marshall and pass over all his inherited possession. This included the coat of arms, the Harry family's domain and of course, his title as an honorary lord of the region that he ruled over. The smile on the Knight of Marshall's face stretched even wider. Abel was his foster son and also the son of his best brother. While this boy's heritage remained ambiguous, he has spent no time hesitating to claim the new territory as the Harry family's. The coachman opened the door. Abel stepped out of the carriage first, and the butler Ken bowed to him. "Dear Lord Abel, your castle welcomes you," Ken said as he lowered his head. "Ken, I'm so glad to see you again," Abel welcomed Ken with a smile. "Come on, take me around this castle. I've been waiting far too long for this. It is a pleasure for me as well." "Follow me, sir," Ken complied, then proceeded to greet the Knight of Marshall with a bow. "It is an honor to see you here, sir." The Knight of Marshall waved and said to Abel, "Mind if I tag along? Matthews never invited me here before." Ken didn't seem to react to what the Knight of Marshall was saying. After all, Lord Matthew never got along well with the Knight of Marshall. It wasn't like they were complete enemies, but Lord Matthews didn't have much respect for someone like Marshall, who was a nobleman by the blood he spilled and not by his birth. The Knight of Marshall was the foster father of Abel, yes, but Ken wasn't going to spend too much time appealing to someone whom his former master disliked. Abel kind of liked that about Ken. He seemed to have a sense of integrity about him and demonstrated his character without being disrespectful to the Knight of Marshall. It was very dark when Abel was trying to rescue Matthew Castle a few days ago. While he had arrived, some of the buildings were already burnt down in ruins. This was why when Abel had come here today, he was very surprised to see that everything had already been restored. Because the castle was built by giant carved boulders, not wood, it was able to withstand the fire that would have destroyed it on the spot. Besides, the servants have worked very hard themselves. Apart from the traces of fire on the outer wall, the disaster of that day was no longer visible. Whilst observing the sense of satisfaction that was on Abel's face, Ken felt more determined to work hard for his new master. The efforts of these past few days have been recognized by the new owner. When Abel was checking the interior of the castle, Ken said to Abel humbly, "Here, Lord Abel, sir. Everything here has remained untouched over the past few days. The city's government asked for all the property here to be sealed up. You're meant to be the first one who was to examine them." It was Lord Dickens who had sent the order. Abel knew at least that much. As the owner of his massive castle, Lord Dickens wouldn't mind spending some more money to appeal to the new owner of the Matthew Castle. It was a win-win for everyone. In the storeroom, Abel saw a few huge wooden boxes made of iron and wood. The boxes were sealed by the city's government. As for the content inside of them, Abel wasn't sure. Abel turned to Ken. Ken, can I trust you? Ken knelt on one knee and said solemnly after hearing that, Yes, Lord Abel. I pledge my utmost loyalty to you. I accept, Abel replied as he held Ken up. You are the butler of my castle. You are a member of my family now. Thank you. Ken's eyes were filled with tears. He thought that he has lost everything before, but now, all of it was coming back to him. The servants and the guards are now under your command. Whoever can stay is under your command. As for those who wish to leave, at least give 5 gold coins to each one of them. Now that Matthew isn't here, I'll be the one to thank them in his place. Abel didn't want to worry about the trivial things in the castle. For him, he would rather have someone professional looking after everyone here. Thank you, sir. I will arrange it properly, and the final result will be reported to you. Ken was very grateful for Abel's trust. In this world, the relationship between a butler and his master in this world was very, very close. A butler was like a bodyguard, but instead of simply protecting his master's life, it was about spending his entire life looking after all the things that were needed and requested. Being a butler was the equivalent of being the second in command of a castle. With that being said, the status of this position was extremely high. Ken was a very lucky man in this regard. Better yet, a successful future was guaranteed if he was working for a gifted master like Abel. Without saying anything, the Knight of Marshall watched Abel on the side as he gave out instructions on how the castle should be managed. This was Abel's castle. He didn't want to get involved in Abel's affairs. He was very clear about this. At the same time, he admired Abel's ability to handle things and was at ease when he saw that Abel was able to find a suitable butler. When several people entered the study, Ken took a wooden box from the bookshelf and said, There's a secret room here. The opening method is in this box. I will leave first. After Ken retreated from the study to the door, the Knight of Marshall was about to exit the study but was stopped by Abel on the way. Abel smiled. Let's visit Lord Matthew's collection together, Uncle Marshall. Sure, the Knight of Marshall nodded his head in compliance. It's a pretty rare opportunity for me. I don't get to see how the other nobles have their collections. Abel opened the wooden box. He opened the mechanism according to the records above. On the wall of the study, a secret door was opened and the two walked into the secret room. This secret room had a long staircase going down and the staircase was very dark, but it had no effect on the two knights. Whilst walking along the stairs, Abel and the Knight of Marshall entered a huge room. This room visual inspection reached 20 meters wide and 50 meters in length. 5 legendary luminous pearls were engraved on the roof, reflecting the light in the entire room brightly. In the middle of the room, there were 2 neat rows of wooden cabinets filled with various items. The surface of these items was very clean, indicating that the owner took great care of these items. When Abel stepped forward, he found that every item had an individual description written on the parchment in front of the item. Looking at the 10 rows of display cabinets on the left and right, Abel was surprised by the Matthew family's collection. Viscount Dickens did promise him the entire castle and everything that was in it, but he had no idea that the Matthews had so much treasure that was unknown to others. If Dickens had seen it, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't be so generous towards Abel. And let's just talk about those 5 legendary luminous pearls. If Lord Matthew was bold enough to put them in the castle hall, all robbers on the mainland would have come within days. Abel didn't know much about the history of this world. Still, he was fascinated to see all the historical items that were in this place. It was an eye-opener for him. Every time he looked at a treasure that could be dated back many years ago, he would always wonder if it was a treasure from a certain country or a weapon of a famous general. Hey uncle! Look at all this. Do you still remember what we have in Harry Castle? Hey, uncle! The Knight of Marshall threw a side stare at Abel. Think about the years that have been put into this collection here. This family has been collecting for hundreds of years. What's the point of comparing it to my collection? The Knight of Martial seemed pretty okay with it on the outside, but secretly, he's already decided that he was going to make a new collection room when he went back. This comparison was simply too overwhelming for him, and it was making him more embarrassed than if he was wearing nothing but his underpants. This marks the end of part 13 of the story, Abe the Wizard. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.